I'm really happy baseball's back. Welcome back. We've got another baseball show for you. We got so many winners from last night, just watching our shows and checking out our content. We'll get into that for a second, but I must say I miss day baseball. It's just one. I didn't have a chance to nap, but usually I'll put a game on. You listen to the crowd in the background, pass out, drool all over yourself. But no, these last 2 days have been great. So we had a month of March Madness, and then you go right. By the way, they should push back opening day to this week, that to a little bit later. That would be amazing. Now we got the Yankees and the Red Sox going bananas, 5-5 in the 10th. I mean, this is great stuff. You got the Rockies leading the Doyers 2-0 in the second. Seattle's up 2-0 early. We got a 5-game slate tonight. DC, it's back, man. And I wasn't that enthused yesterday, and then a game started, and I'm all in again. I'm all in.
Yeah, I've been waiting for the start of baseball for months. So it's been a fun couple days. Overwhelming couple days, honestly, with the Masters and baseball starting. I complained about it yesterday. I guess I'm going to do it again today. But it's just like, it's almost like too much, especially today where there's like 3 different slates. I think the next 11 days in a row have at least 12 baseball games per day. Oftentimes, an early, an afternoon, a night slate. So you love it as a baseball fan, but it's a lot to, stay on top of. And then you got the Masters on top of that. So a lot of sports going on. You absolutely love it. Beautiful day here in Colorado. All 3 of us living in Colorado, enjoying hopefully a little sunshine today. So you got to love it, but man, it's a lot going on right now.
Travis Mangone, you haven't been to Coors yet. We'll definitely get you out there one time this summer, though. It'll be wonderful.
I will be there for sure. Some games I will make it to. I'm sure about it, but excited to be on to talk some baseball. First baseball show with the boys. And some would say opening day was yesterday. Opening day is actually today because that's when the White Sox play, right? The White Sox are back. That's all we care about. They're the best team. And they just lost, sadly, but that's okay. Maybe people will be down on them and say they suck and won't roster them going forward. So, they did okay DFS wise. I got the Phillies too. That's how I started off my early slate. I said, stack up some White Sox, stack up some Phillies, and so far so good. Phillies got 5 runs. White Sox got 4. Not the end of the world. I think those 5-man Philly stacks will be a little better than the 5-man White Sox ones. Though.
Oh, we got some stacks to make for tonight's games. We got 5 of them. We got Scherzer on the mound, Mets in Washington, Texas at Toronto. So we got a couple really good offenses there. I'm looking forward to seeing what this Texas offense can bring. Cincinnati at Atlanta. Here we got Sean Manaea on the mound. Arizona hosting San Diego. So the Padres got themselves another arm. And then Houston and the Angels, which last night I just turned the TV on, sat there and watched the whole time. It was great. Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. Are you kidding me? Like they're on the field at the same time now. They got a badass team too. I hope they can just find a little bit of pitching. I think it's going to be good there. But Draft Cheat, you watched some baseball I'm sure you did watch baseball last night. What'd you watch?
I watched most of the Braves. I was in on their offense yesterday. Max Fried. That was, they got beat. Disappointing game for them. Little drama out of Atlanta. I don't know if you saw like some Acuna, Freddie Freeman snapping back each other about who's in charge of the locker room and all that. So I don't think it's much. The Braves, it is funny. It's like baseball, it's 162 games and you're getting all prepared for opening day. And it's like the Braves have one bad night at the plate. I'm like, was I wrong about everything? Are the Braves not what I thought they were going to be? It's like, all right, just take a step back, stay on the guys that you were on coming into the season. For me, I'll be back with the Braves tonight. I do think we've seen overall kind of disappointing performances from like the top aces, right? Garrett Cole wasn't good today. Corbin Burns disappointed yesterday. And it's kind of the result of the short spring training. We have Max Scherzer pitching today, right? Expensive pitcher. But he's coming off a hamstring injury. And so I think early on in the season, I think we know less than maybe we think we do. Maybe projections aren't quite as tight as they're going to be later on. So I do think there's room to, maybe get a little bit different. So far, I think this season it's worked. And it's, the games haven't gone quite as expected as maybe it's just the short sample size, but I do think there's just more chaos early on in the season with the weather and the short spring training. And, players have different levels of skill than we saw in the past. So it's a fun time of year to play DFS baseball for sure.
An absolute blast. Okay, here's what we got going on. Like button, first of all. Got 100 watching. We just started the show. It's going to triple up, but 100 watching. Let's make today's goal 150 again for baseball. Yesterday was opening day, so we had a lot. I got to get to members never win. Before we do that, though, Uzi Azizov. Is it Azizov? Azizov. I'm going to go Azizov. What's up, Uzi? Brooklyn, New York, I believe. Shipped the 44 and the 1650 on FanDuel last night. 20K and 50K. You won $70,000 last night. It's pretty good. It's a good night, man. I hope you went out and partied, or you're going to do that sometime tonight or this weekend. So let's get to members never win, because there was a lot of winning last night. We're being very facetious when we say that. We had Chase Adiance, 10.75, 2.18, 10K plus, almost 11K for Chase. The Red Band, 130, another 16.7, $16,700. And Just a Joe, 100K. So we had a 70K, 100K, 16K, 10K. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. That's a good night. That's a good night. I'll say that. Mangone, I would like to let you know something. People like to make fun of me for going to the pumpkin patch and stuff like that. I'm going to make fun of Mangone for going to the pumpkin patch. Where the hell did he? Here he is. He's back. Do you want to go to the pumpkin patch or an Easter egg hunt with me this weekend?
I mean, who are we going with? I mean,
my kids. I know it'd be a little uncomfortable. They probably won't like you, but
kids would. Here's the thing. I honestly think going with your kids would not be as uncomfortable as going with the lady you're with. That'd be definitely more uncomfortable.
That'd be awful.
But I mean, like, listen, you could ask me maybe in a couple days. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what my schedule has. How's that?
It's tomorrow in Larkspur, so we got to go out to the country. Don't worry about
where Larkspur is. Is that far from us?
Yeah, it's not that far from you. No, you're in Parker.
Are there even pumpkin patches open right now? It's spring.
No, we're going to an Easter egg hunt.
Oh, okay.
You're invited.
Isn't it too early for an Easter egg hunt? I feel like
of course it is. But you got to find shit to do when it's 70 degrees, 80 degrees outside tomorrow.
Yeah. That's fair. It is going to be a very nice weekend out here.
So finally. We're finally getting some stuff. Now, no parties for Uzi's going for the 100K tonight, LOL. I mean, if you hit the 100K tonight, Uzi, we want some testimonials. Just start throwing it out there. Okay, let's get into this slate. Little 5-gamer. We will be doing the premium up to lock show for NBA. So just because there's no NBA right now, we'll continue doing our premium up to lock show. You got a lot of free NBA from us this year, folks. So we're going to go all the way through the playoffs. We'll have full slate, showdown content in the NBA. And then in baseball, we'll continue this show, and we'll keep doing the up to lock show for the premium members if you're playing NBA. But like I said, 5-game slate tonight. We'll start with the pitching. Actually, before we get to pitching, I'll bring one more thing up, or I want to ask you one more thing, DC, like an overall thought on this slate, because I don't know how many pitchers are going to be in your pool tonight. And I want to know, just off the cuff, what's your favorite offense of the evening?
I'm going back to the Braves. Let me down last night. But I still really, really believe in this offense long-term. Some hit into some bad luck last night. And then I just think they're going to wear the Cincinnati pitching staff down over the course of the series. Tonight they get a decent pitcher, but Reaver San Martin, he's got like 12 career big league innings. Got to go into another tough place to pitch in Atlanta. And I just really, really like that offense and hitting environment. So yeah, the Braves, back to them. They're expensive, but you can fit them tonight. There's some cheaper pitchers that I like.
Mangone, any thoughts on today's slate? Just a 5-gamer.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not the biggest slate, but like I like smaller slates, like, are nice because then game theory kind of comes into play, where there's a little more conversation with that at times. On like those big 15 gamers, you kind of play whatever offense you want and just kind of call it a day. You can always make the argument on like a 15 gamer, whatever's the quote unquote chalk offense, you can always just fade and then play whatever you want. But I think on these slates, it definitely game theory kind of comes into play a little bit more, and it's worth talking about. My assumption is like the 3 offenses that people might key in on tonight would be the Braves, the Padres, and the Blue Jays. But the problem is price can sometimes come into play and kind of shake some stuff up with that. So my current lean right now, if I have to pick an offense, mine is going to be the Blue Jays. I just think that they're really expensive, might make it a little harder to do on these slates. But yeah, I think that is the way that I want to go. So I think a lot of people are going to do like the double, like spend up on pitcher, even though spending up isn't like super, like for instance, like 2 guys that everyone's going to play are Jose Berrios at 8.9 and Charlie Morton at 8.4. They're going to be very popular on DraftKings, I believe, today. But if you do like a Charlie Morton with like a Blue Jays stack, it's hard to get in that second pitcher. So we'll definitely talk about it because I think those Blue Jay prices really make it difficult on you for that.
I love game theory. I think it's awesome to talk about it with the premium members too, though, because that's really where you can get different building lineups that way. But DC, let's get into the starting pitchers then. We can just go top to bottom since we only got 10 of them, but some interesting names: Scherzer, Manaea, Barrios, Charlie Morton, and Josiah Gray's making the start here for Washington. Want to get your thoughts on him. And then John Gray at Toronto. I don't know how comfortable I would feel rostering him tonight. Talk to me top to bottom, FanDuel, DK, starting pitching.
Yeah, we'll start with Max Scherzer. You know, typically when he's on a slate, he's a good guy to start with and just lights out for years and years. But he did get pushed back a day with the hamstring soreness. So Jacob deGrom obviously would have been the opening day starter. He goes down hurt a couple of weeks ago. Then they say Max is going to start opening day, and then he's got hamstring soreness. He misses yesterday. Tyler McGill started. You wonder how long he's going to be able to go, right? We've seen even ace pitchers have pretty quick hooks so far this season and generally not perform that well anyway. And then, I mean, I think perhaps tellingly, Vegas's market on Max Scherzer's strikeout prop sitting at 6.5 with juice on the under. You would see that at probably 8.5 or 9 if this is like a fully functional Max Scherzer. So certainly Vegas doesn't expect the full, complement of pitches from him. So he's kind of off the table for me. Like for me personally, I think if you wanted to play him, listen, he could go out and dominate. You never know for sure, but I'll take the warning signs of Scherzer and probably look elsewhere myself. I think Manaea is a decent option up top. Padres just got him. The matchup's obviously good against Arizona. We saw Yu Darvish shut them down. And then I don't know if you guys saw the end of that game, but I think they're up 2-0. And I think they went like walk, hit batsman, pitching change, walk off home run, something like that. Gave up 4 runs in 4 batters. But yeah, I do like Manaea. I'm not on Barrios at 8-9. And then if ownership wasn't a thing, if I was playing cash games, Charlie Morton would be my choice at 8,400, expecting a big season out of him for sure. And then I do like the matchup against Cincinnati at home. But I'll go against Mangone here. I heard him mention the Blue Jays as perhaps his favorite stack. I actually like John Gray, cheapest pitcher on the board at DraftKings, 5,400. Have always liked the talent. And the move from Coors Field to Texas. Now this game's in Toronto, but the Rockies have by far the stupidest organization signings wise. I think coaching wise, I think Gray is massively more talented than his stats reflect from his time in Colorado. He's apparently got a new slider. He's all the way stretched out. And it's risky going into Toronto for sure, but I think he's got the stuff to get a lot of strikeouts here. Predominantly right-handed lineup. Again, his best pitch is that slider, which can be very effective against those types of hitters. So, yeah, he's a risky pick, but I think John Gray, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he was the top scoring pitcher on the slate. Of course, I wouldn't be surprised if the Blue Jays blew up anyway, because they could do that against anybody. But John Gray, kind of my, I guess, sneaky play of the night. Although I am seeing Mangone, I don't know what you've seen. It seems like he could possibly have some ownership, which I was kind of hoping it wouldn't go that way just because he's so cheap. I don't know what you're seeing there, but I do think his strikeout upside is pretty high here.
Well, he's cheap and there's a ton of bats that you can go to where it's okay, well, if you're playing a bunch of bats and you obviously can't get the top end pitchers always. I think Charlie Morton is head and shoulders the best point per dollar guy on the slate and the one that I'm going to. DC, this might be a good thing to break down because I think this is really important this time of year. The first time these guys pitch, well, there's a big difference between Max Scherzer in April versus Max Scherzer in July when he's way more stretched out. And, the thing I want to know is who are the guys that are stretched out and who are the guys who are not? Like you mentioning John Gray being stretched out. I didn't know that. That's important because he has the ability to get further into the game. One reason I wanted to play Adam Wainwright yesterday over a Shane Bieber was I felt confident in Wainwright's leash, especially going up against a team like the Pirates, who I don't think they're going to eat up pitch counts. They're not going to stare at a bunch of pitches. They're just not a team that is that patient at the plate and has a bunch of young guys. So overall, I think that's really important. So can you kind of go through which guys are stretched out and which are not? Because I think that's sometimes where you find some bad chalk, where there are guys that are not stretched out and people don't realize that.
Yeah, I actually think most of these guys are pretty ready to go. Not like nobody's maybe quite to their normal workload and stretched out as they would be at healthy level midseason, but for the most part they are looking good. Scherzer is the interesting one. I mean, I talked about him, the low K prop, being scratched, pushed back a day with the sore hamstring, but he also came out it was like the very first game of opening day spring training and threw 5 innings and like struck out 8 guys. Like whereas like the other pitchers were throwing like 1 to 2 innings and he was like, no, I'm ready to go. He obviously had been working in the offseason. So it's hard to know with Max, right? Like by all like other logic, he should be kind of limited here, but sometimes he's just like, he just kind of pitches until he decides he comes out. And it could be that kind of case for Max if his hamstring's feeling good. But I do know for sure, like I mentioned, John Gray I think he has like something to prove here, right? Out of Colorado, he was a former top pick, gets the big contract. I mean, he signed a $54 million contract. Texas named him their opening day starter weeks ago. Like, I can't promise the results are going to be good, but what I can say, if you roster John Gray and you turn on the game, he's going to be throwing gas, like nasty stuff to start the game. Like he's going to have a good chance to get some strikeouts. So he's ready to go. Another guy that's going to be low owned, I think, is Josiah Gray, who I do like as a pitcher, 7,600. Again, the Mets have one of the highest team totals tonight. So these are players that aren't going to be rostered very highly, but players that I do believe in. You can go with the Gray and Gray combo, Josiah and John. I like all of that on some teams. And then Morton, I agree with you, just kind of the safest play. And then the other sneaky play I'm looking at, man, going, I know you're asking me about kind of the stretch out, but Merrill Kelly is another guy who, by all reports, velocity up like 2 to 3 miles per hour on all his pitches, dominated spring training, supposedly is like kind of like a new man. Again, we'll see, right? Like you can't, we haven't seen him yet, but I think we'll see a better Merrill Kelly today than we've seen in the past. And he's going to be super low owned. He's 6,200. People are going to be on the Padres. They got a big team total. I get it. Like these are kind of my favorite baseball slates early on, where there are pitchers that I do genuinely like who are cheap and lower owned, right? That's kind of what you look for in a GPP pitcher. So it's a fun slate for me for sure.
Hey, can I ask you one more question?
Yeah, of course.
His name's River San Martin, but I'm going to call him River. I just think that's River San Martin.
I can't say for sure how to pronounce his name, so that could be it. We'll go with that.
But he looks like a talented player, like a talented prospect from what I'm reading. I know it's against the Braves. The Braves are likely popular, but I believe the Braves are better against right-handed pitchers rather than lefts. Like this could be a matchup that he could take advantage of. Like I know Big T likes to do this. I like to do it at times. The stack the game with the pitchers, right? And hope it kind of just like goes like it's a 1-0 game. And you just kind of fall into the nuts. I don't think it's a terrible idea to try that out today at virtually no ownership on a 7.8K guy. Like no one's going to play this guy, can gain you some leverage. And it seems like he's a talented pitcher. And yes, it's scary to target a talented offense, but you can just look at examples from today. Like the White Sox, they were fine, but they didn't go off against D-Rod. The Padres yesterday, they didn't do great. There's so many offenses that have already busted where people just say, oh, there's no doubt this team can't miss. The Brewers, no doubt they couldn't miss. What do you think of him? That's another guy I want to get like your prospect take on.
I don't think it's a crazy play. Listen, I'm on the Atlanta offense again, so I'm not on River San Martin. But there is some talent there, clearly. I don't really have a strong opinion on how, what level of talent it is. But just because I'm not on him doesn't mean I don't agree with your overall point, which is that we haven't seen the chalk really perform very well over this past day and a half, right? We've seen many offenses that look like they're in great spots go down, pitchers that look like they're in can't miss spots, not perform well. Most of the games have been, I wouldn't say, upside down, but just that happens in baseball in general, but I do think we're seeing it even more so early on. So I guess my general point is, even though Charlie Morton's my favorite pitcher on the board, point per dollar wise, I also am pretty sure he's going to be the most popular guy. And based on the results that we've seen so far, and just things being a little topsy-turvy, I'm not sure I want to ride with the 45-50% pitcher right now is all I'm saying. So
stick with me here, DC. Have you ever been to a rave?
No, I have not. I can't say.
His name is Raver San Martin.
Raver San Martin.
His name is Raver? That's great. That's even better than River.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's
the Raver.
Raver. Yeah. Like
Gosh,
dudes on Molly.
Even more now.
throwing no hitters. Doc Ellis throwing no hitters on LSD. Now Raver San Martin's going to do it on something else.
Is a Rave, I think, do I need to put that on my bucket list, Holden, or is it too late? Is it too late for me on the Rave scene?
How old are you?
36.
Yeah, wait till you're in your 50s. That's when you want to go.
Okay.
You know, that's on my bucket list there. Rave.
We'll see if I make it.
We're not going to a rave in Colorado this summer. That wasn't on your bucket list this summer.
No, like I said, I need to be in my 50s to go to a rave. Yeah, the 40s was swinger club. The 50s,
we'll get a Twitter Spaces going. Holden, Mangone, and DC go to a rave in Denver. We'll get some numbers.
Could you imagine that? That'd be awful. That'd be the worst fucking thing ever. Mangone, anything else you want to bring up on the pitching, or are we ready to move on to the offense?
So I'll sew it up by saying, like, Morton's my guy. I'm definitely going to be on most of my stuff. I definitely the reason I like the Blue Jays, this is just the point I was getting at, is I think it gives you a little bit of a different construction, because I feel like you're forced to spend down at that other pitcher spot. That's at least what I was noticing when I kind of ran some stuff. Not going to say I'm like completely sold on Toronto, because maybe there's another way to do it, but I do think, like, trying to figure out which one of these cheap guys is the gem to go to is key. Like, is it Merrill Kelly? Is it Reed Detmers? Is it Raver San Martin? Like, is it Josiah Gray? I think just trying to go down for some of these cheaper guys. And I think DC sold me a lot on the Merrill Kelly idea. And we'll obviously talk about lineups as we kind of like go, when we're going position by position, but that bottom of the order for the Padres, like,
the whole lineup is not that scary. Really, it's not.
Yeah, like, let me just read you 5 through 9, right? Most teams have a good 1 through 4, but 5 through 9, Eric Hosmer, Jerickson Profar, Will Myers, and he's against a righty, right? You like him more against the lefties, I believe. I can't remember. It's still early in the season. CJ Abrams and Jorge Alfaro. Like, I'm just not too scared of that Padres lineup.
Yeah, I mean, that 5 is bad, but even the top 4, like, it's not like Trent Grisham and Jake Cronenworth are like household sluggers that you can't beat. You know what I mean? Like,
I love you definitely have sold me on the Merrill Kelly idea, and I also think, like, the Padres are going to have a lot of ownership today. Like, on these, like, when you look at these slates when they're like shorter, it's like, do you do Merrill Kelly against a team that has ownership, or do you do, like, I don't know, another pitcher that against one that doesn't have as much ownership? Like, part of me just leans that ownership, if the projection's close, that ownership of being able to have that leverage is so much more worth it. So for me, I'm pretty clear cut on, like, loading up on Morton and Kelly today and just seeing what happens with my bats. It helps you to get a lot too as well. So
there are bets to spend on too, right? Like, you don't want to go cheap, risky pitching if you're like forcing in expensive bats necessarily. But when the value bats to me don't look that great to me on this slate, honestly. There's not that many guys that I'm super excited to play. So those are the slates where if you can find some cheap guys that you have, you know, reasonable expectations for their upside or that they can get to their upside, those are the slates that you can roll the dice on cheaper pitchers. And I think this is a good one, because I don't think we're going to see any like dominant performances out of pitchers. We said the same thing yesterday. It proved true. You know what? Like, Wainwright was the top scoring pitcher on the day. I think we'll see something similar tonight.
So here we are. We've gotten through the pitching. We figured out Raver San Martin's name. And now we're just looking to up the likes. Let's do it. We're at 70. We're going for 150. We're at 226 watching. This thing will probably peak around 300. We'll end up with well over 1,000 views, and everything will be great. So a little lineup action. I mean, Uzi took down 70K last night. Now he's giving us picks. He likes the Reds against Morton. He likes the Rangers or the Reds lineup to break the slate. I mean, guys, Uzi's on a tear now. He's feeling cocky.
This dude definitely was using all the low-owned stacks. That's what happened. Not saying that's bad, but I can tell when you're out here after you had a big day, like when you roster like 5% guys, like the next day it's easy to come back after you had a big night and be like, yeah, give me the Texas Rangers. Like, I'm gonna load the boat on them. It's just way easier to come back with it after it worked out really well. But I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying, like, I've been there. I know the feeling. It feels great when you just walk in there and be like, Give me the unknown stack. Like, it's a printer, and it's a lot easier.
You get the opposite feeling sometimes in DFS too, where it's like you feel like no matter who you choose, you just like are feeling lost. But after the big night with the low on stack, you're like, fuck it, I'll pick the low on stack again. No problem at all.
my favorite is when you sit there and you're like, Jokic or Embiid, like, who's the guy tonight? And like, you're just like, does it really matter? I'm going to pick wrong, but let's just go with it. You just plug them in and you just say, okay, like we're going to lose anyways, but let's do it. That's the total opposite effect as well. So DFS can be a real mess with your mind.
They can, for sure. Both
How
ways.
How about Javi Baez and Josh Donaldson with walk-offs with their new teams today? That's
yes,
pretty
you love to see
freaking
it.
awesome.
That is the Yankees cashing. That is the ticket window, baby.
No, thank God my parents, thank God the Red Sox lost. Not enough to hear about them. I mean, it's amazing. They want me to place bets for them. I'm like, come on, guys. And they would have lost today. So I put 500 back in their pocket. They should be happy about that.
But they'll never acknowledge that, only if they play.
No, they will, because I'm going to, right after the second show is over, I'm going to call them.
Sure of it, yeah.
I'm going to call
someone in chat said that Rangers lineup is the nuts. And like, I definitely haven't looked at too many MLB lineups. Man, it's definitely a different lineup out there. Like we got Willie Calhoun, like now batting ninth. Like that dude used to bat like first for that team. So it's kind of crazy to see the transition some of these teams have made.
Yeah. They got Seager in there now. They really
Seager, Semien, Garver. Yeah. All new to the team.
Yeah. They did a nice job. They did a really nice job. Nathaniel Lowe is a guy we'll talk about too. Nate Lowe. He's batting fifth, but let's get into the position by position. So again, like button to be great. We just sent the tweet out. Some more people will be stopping by. And I know that we're on the air. Oh, I did have something that I needed. Mangone, what happened to Fu Manchu? I feel like I was the only guy that loved it, but you looked like a badass. You looked like a biker gang person.
Yeah, I just did it. I was shaving my beard. So sometimes when I shave my beard, I just do something fun with it, right? Like, why not? So
that's fun. Can you bring it back? Any chance?
Yeah, I mean, I'll bring it back at some point.
I really think it should have stayed, Mangone. It was a great look.
Yeah, some people liked it a lot. There was definitely there was some mixed feelings, it just depends. But when I grow it out again, I'll do something with it. Maybe I'll just do like a straight stash only. But the Fu Manchu looks better. When you go down, it looks better. When I just leave it like this, it looks a little creepy. So
disagree. Well, yeah. Then make sure when we go to the rave, don't have your Fu Manchu because it might freak some people out. But I like it personally. And then the other thing is, did you just stay out in the sun too long? What happened to your face?
So here's the thing. I went skiing up in the mountains, and so I go out on the mountains on Saturday morning and it's like 29 degrees, but by the afternoon it's like 50 degrees and I was at the top of the mountain. And I don't like to wear like a mask while I'm skiing. Also, when I used to ski, it was in New Jersey and that's a little different than skiing out here. So I was like, I don't need a mask. I'll be fine. Well, that did not work out well. I got the sunburn. I got the wind burn too. It was a tough scene for me, but it's gotten better. It's improved. When you guys saw it on like Tuesday or Monday, that was when it was just absolutely terrible.
So DC, this is obviously someone not familiar living in Colorado.
I did see the picture. I'm trying to remember. Did you even have a helmet on in that picture, Mangone?
No, I had a helmet on. I had a helmet and goggles.
Okay.
So at least had that, but
yeah.
And the thing is, I was at the top of the mountain the whole day because I like to do the terrain park and it's at the top and you would just take that down and you wouldn't go all the way to the bottom. You just go to like the next lift and then go up. So I was at the top literally all day.
You're just like chilling at 12,000 feet on a sunny day all day. I would get you.
Yeah, all day. I mean, it was literally from like 10 a.m. till like
that's
4.
It happens. It happens.
All right, you're feeling better now. That's all that matters. Let's get to Uncle T's in here. Did Bagel Girl like the new look, Mangone? What does that mean?
We talk on the golf show. There's a girl that gave me free bagels at a bagel place. So no, I haven't been to the bagel place in a little while. It's been it's been a week or so. It's been probably a week or two. So no, the Fu Manchu was not seen. It was only there for a couple of days.
Okay. She would have liked it. Is what are you trying to like get in with that or?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see, It's one of those things you can't dive right in, you gotta slow play it. It's the long
I completely disagree with you. I could not disagree with you more, but that's all right. You keep slow playing things. DC, let's get to the catcher position. There's some options. I mean, we just go back to, do we play him in a stack? Do we play him as a one-off or do we just play the cheapest guy? And you see Mitch Garver, we were just talking about Texas. He's hitting cleanup tonight. Max Stassi is the second highest price at 4,300. Kyber Ruiz probably be in the lineup tonight. We'll see Donnie Johnson. Danny Jansen's always one of my favorites just to plug in there. Give me the rundown of catcher today.
There are a few options. I think you listed most of them, frankly. Carson Kelly against Sean Manaea, I think is a good kind of leverage play. Same with Keibert Ruiz. Awesome opening day. I was very high on him yesterday. Very high on him just as a hitter this year. And so if you want to take a one-off bat against Max Scherzer, he's a good option to do it. Alejandro Kirk. So a few guys there, but I'm going to make the case for Mitch Garver, top priced catcher. I think he'll be overlooked. against Jose Barrios. Mitch Garver, if you look at the numbers last couple of years, one of the best fastball hitters in baseball. And until this year, Mitch Garver and Jose Barrios, like Mitch Garver had caught like 80% of Barrios's career starts, or 70%, whatever. Like he's seen thousands and thousands of Barrios fastballs, right? And his fastball and his curveball. Who better would be able to try to differentiate between those two pitches and lay off the curveball and hammer the fastball, which Barrios doesn't have a good fastball. It does get crushed. Garver crushes fastballs, and he's seen these pitches thousands of times, right? Like that would, to me, would be like, of course he would be able to maybe have a good chance of squaring one of those up. So you don't take the ride down narrative street too often with baseball, but this is one I believe in. I think Mitch Garver has got a good chance to square up one of those Barrios fastballs. They go a long way of when it happens. So he is my my catcher today, the one I want to get on the majority of my teams. The other guys we mentioned, Kelly, Ruiz, Travis d'Arnaud, I'm going to mix those guys in as well, but Garver, number one for me tonight, and I think probably pretty low owned as well.
Mangone, remind me your strategy on rostering catchers. Is it more of a stack thing, the cheapest guy? Would you ever go high price for a one-off?
It just depends like on the different slates. Like a good example, like yesterday's slate and today's slate are a little, they're kind of have some similarities. Like for instance, yesterday, I noticed as I was building, when you first start with like a new sport, you're kind of getting all the kinks out. You might make mistakes here and there. As I was building out my teams, I was doing a lot of 5-2-1 stacks. I'm doing 5-man stacks, the 2-man, and then the one-off. And I noticed, and sometimes it's a good way to figure out which position is the weakest on a slate sometimes, especially if you're running multiple stacks. Catcher kept throwing in Dalton Varsho. And I was like, well, Dalton Varsho is going to be very chalky. Do I want to eat the catcher chalk? That sounds like a terrible idea. So my recommendation typically on these slates is do not eat what the catcher chalk play is. Now, that always depends. Is the catcher chalk play maybe Mitch Garver in this spot? Like I actually think DC made some really good points there on him. But I do think a lot of people like to punt it at times. And like Varsho was kind of a punt yesterday. I thought the catcher chalk of Varsho was like a really terrible idea in tournaments. I thought it was awful. So I don't have all the ownership up yet. I should probably pull it up here. But I think Garver is the guy I like a lot if I have the money. And if I go down for my other pitcher, I think that makes sense. Typically, I like to lean whatever stack I'm going, just throw him in. Like a great option to do that with is if you're playing a Brave stack, Travis d'Arnaud hits lefties well. Why not put Travis d'Arnaud in there as one of your guys? If he could be a contrarian option, I think that's great. One thing to look at, DC, maybe you can refresh my memory on this. Some catchers like Tyler Stevenson, he's one that gets pinch hit for a lot, right? Like sometimes there's catchers that are more so hitters, and as the game develops, they just bring in that like catcher to like close the game out. Is he one of those examples? I know this is not the perfect spot for it, but like Maldonado's a guy typically catches for the entire game, like goes throughout the whole one. Sometimes there's catchers that get pinch hit for a lot if there's not a huge difference between them and like the guy behind him. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, for sure. It happens all the time. And we're actually going to see it more because there's obviously the universal DH in the National League. So teams can use all their hitters to pinch hit for normal, not just the pitcher, right? You don't have to save pinch hitters to pinch hit for the pitcher all game. So Stevenson, though, in particular, one, I wouldn't play him against Morton anyway, probably, but two.
Agreed. He was just the example I was using is like there are guys that
he's like one of their best hitters. So I'm mostly looking at like the lineup, right? And saying, is this the worst hitter in their lineup? If it is, then that's a guy that's going to be likely to be pinch hit for. I don't think Stevenson quite qualifies for that.
One more strategy thing I'll do, Holden, that I like is like, for instance, like Martin Maldonado. If he's like, I'm trying to, again, it's a 5-game slate. I'm trying to figure out all the ownership on it. And I guess the Astros are getting some. A good example would be maybe Washington would be a good example. No one's really rostering Washington today, of course, because they're playing Max Scherzer. But sometimes I'll just take the catcher because I'll know they're just part of an offense that's not even owned. And if I know it's like the cheapest option to go to, I'll just completely punt the position. And the reason I'll just punt it is because I know it's not part of that popular stack. Like, I don't want to take the catcher that's part of that really popular offense, because if that catcher hits a home run, well, more of those popular guys in that stack are probably going off with it and doing well. If that catcher hits a 3-run bomb, well, then that maybe pitcher gets pulled early, and then we're dealing with the really crappy bullpen, and those guys on that offense are going to climb towards the top. So I try to look, if I am going to punt the catcher position, I'm looking for like one of the lowest owned ones I can find, and just hoping I kind of fall into like the double dong, right? I get the 2 home runs at like 2%. well, then that's like the Stones. I'm just set up in an amazing spot. And I think that's like something that you really need to be doing at catcher, especially if you're punting a position, to allow yourself to get a lot of good bats, which we already talked about. This slate has a lot of really good bats that you might want to get on your rosters.
Okay. Great point, Bart. Offer Bagel Girl and Mustache Ride, you're getting more free bagels, Mangone. That's what we do. We talk catchers, and then we talk mustache rides. So we'll move right on to the next position, which will be first base. But first, we're sitting at 104 likes. Let's keep going there. Uzi won 70K last night. We don't need to put the graphic up again, Hellman. I just want to tell everybody how awesome last night was for the RPS members. We have members never win. 70K for Uzi, 10.7K for Chase Adiance, $16.7 thousand for Redman, and Just Joe took down 100K. These are just members. And who knows? You know, Uzi had to tell us that he did it at the beginning of the show. Who knows how many other members ended up winning last night? Let's move on to the first base position now. DC, first base is always loaded. We could play Shohei tonight, but he's going to cost you $6,300. You could save $400 and go down to Vlad Guerrero. And I just, my question, I guess, for you would be, before we get to these top options, with which are the obvious ones, who are the guys down below a little bit? Because I like Nate Lowe. I just wonder if I'm going to end up rostering him tonight. How much? It depends on how much Texas I got, I guess. He'd be part of a stack.
Yeah, depending on how cheap you want to go, all the way at the bottom, the cheapest starting first baseman, Brad Miller, leading off for Texas. Again, I think Texas can do some damage to Barrios tonight. Brad Miller, I like him. Talked about Mitch Garver, Corey Seager in there you could play. But yeah, Brad Miller, I do like him as a cheap first base option. Christian Walker, really big spring. He's 3,800, big power against Sean Manaea, who does give up his fair share of home runs. That's a pretty good way to go. So those would be, I think, the two cheap guys, Miller and Walker, that I'd be most likely to use. Luke Voigt, decent option, even though I do like Merrill Kelly some. And then if you go back up to the top, it's going to be a cheap pitching and paying for bats night for me personally. But yeah, Shohei Ohtani, man, not the best night at the plate last night. I don't know if you guys saw where he looked like he hit a home run, kind of took a home run swing, and the Angels announcer just absolutely lost his shit. And then it died like 2 feet short of the warning track. It was pretty funny. But point is, Ohtani's going to have another monster year. Jake Odorizzi lives on those high fastballs that are like 90 miles per hour is like his best pitch. And I don't know. Good luck getting that past Ohtani, right? I'll take my chances there. So I do want to pay up for Ohtani if I can afford him. Other one-offs, we've mentioned a couple Washington guys now. We mentioned Keeper Ruiz. I think Josh Bell against Max Scherzer. Scherzer, as good as he is, big splits, way better against right-handers than left-handers. He gives up a lot of home runs to left-handed power bats. Josh Bell certainly fits right in that category. So another, he'll be unknown at 4,900, but I think a decent chance at doing some serious damage there.
Mr. Mangone, first base. What's the plan of attack here? What do we want to do? Who's up top for you tonight? Who's your favorite expensive bat? If you have a favorite expensive bat at first.
Yeah, favorite expensive bat. You can make a lot of arguments at the top. There's three guys that you're keying in on at the top. Shohei Ohtani at 6'3", Vlad Guerrero 5'9", Pete Alonso at 5'3". My lean, I think, is Shohei Ohtani. That Angels offense, it's definitely a good one to target at any time. The kind of guys that they have in there. And Jake Odorizzi, he is a good fly ball pitcher, but Jake Odorizzi can definitely be awful at times. So I do think that Angels and Houston game is a little bit sneaky. That could just definitely pop off on this.
It's 90 degrees there. The rest of the country is playing in the refrigerator, and they've got 90 degrees out in California.
It is cooling down at night, though. That's the one thing you got to remember.
A little bit.
It was 100 yesterday, and then they played. It was in the low 80s.
Still, compared to playing on the East Coast or something right now,
yeah.
Houston is probably going to get some ownership. And it's I think it's pretty spread out with San Diego, the Mets, Houston, and LA. Those feel like the ones that gain the most. And then from there, I think all the other ones are kind of on a different level. Maybe Toronto is one that gains some, but the Angels, I don't know. I just don't see people I see them going to Toronto more than I do the Angels when they're doing their spend up options. So it's definitely gonna be interesting. I think those are the guys at the top, but the key in cash games and if you're looking for salary savers, like this is a good position to do it at because we have Brad Miller, who's hitting first. Yes, he can be pinch hit for, but against Berrios at 3.1K, definitely a pretty interesting option that you can go to. I think that a guy like Nate Lowe, someone who's going to just get completely overlooked. Another one that'll get overlooked at the top, Matt Olson, 5.5K, lefty. Matt Olson certainly could have a big game today. The point I think I'm getting at with this position, it's like a loaded position. It's one I don't think you want to miss on. Like taking like some options like Christian Walker doesn't seem like a great idea, right? Like you want to make sure you nail this position. Like it's a bad idea today to probably play Eric Hosmer at your first base position. It's definitely a loaded one that you want to make sure to get exposure to. So I like it a lot. I think like a Jake Cronenworth's interesting, but problem is I want him at second base, right? Rather him there than at the first base position. So a lot of guys you can go to here. I think you don't want to make a bad play here, at least I'll say that. Does that make any sense? Like sometimes there's a position where it's too loaded, where the opportunity cost is too much. Do you guys agree on that?
Yeah, well,
yes.
To your general point, I definitely agree. Where it's like sometimes a catcher on a short slate, it's like I can get away with a 0 because the top scoring catcher might get like 8 points, and it's like that's not going to hurt me that bad. First base, there's going to be some damage done here, right? You got to get some damage out of your first base spot.
Yeah, okay. Like if I told you like Luke Voit and like Mitch Garver or like Vlad Guerrero, maybe like a punt catcher, like that might be a better option. Not that Voigt's a bad play, but the point I'm getting is I think first base is a spot where if you don't love the spot you're at, you might want to try and rebuild. There's just so many good options that you can go to here, I think. So I think, and it depends on construction too. Like I'm fine with playing Brad Miller at 3-1, Luke Voit at 4K, or I'm fine with going up to one of those 3 studs. Like there's just guys at so many different tiers that I think you can roster here at this position today.
All right, Coors Field going full Coors Field, by the way, boys. 5-2 Dodgers in the 4th inning. Things are wonderful. The Kyle Freeland will not be pitching out of the 4th today. So it's going to be a lot of runs for the Dodgers if you stack them early afternoon. Obviously, a very popular stack there, and I think the Phillies-Oakland game will probably be lower owned. But, boy, Dodgers just doing Dodger stuff now. We're at 115. Let's hit the like button here. Got 268 watching. We're going for 150 today, and we're going to move on to the second base position. Yes. What do you want to do here? Mr. DC? Johnny India was your boy last year. Getting interest in Johnny India tonight?
No, I don't think I'll have any Reds. Maybe Votto against Morton, but I just think he's going to pitch well. Only reason I'm not on Morton is just the heavy ownership that's going to be on him. And I still do like him. I'll have some exposure there. I'm going back to Ozzie Albies here. Much better hitter from the right side. I'm going to already Raver San Martin.
That's it. Raver
San Martin. All right. I got it. Can't promise the next time, but I got it that time.
Fine.
But yeah, Albies, I'm back on the Braves. Not going to let one bad night throw me off of them. So Albies my number 1. I do like the Astros quite a bit against Reed Detmers, who I think a lot of talent in that left arm, but like wasn't even, I don't think, planning to start today. He was kind of on the fringe of the roster coming out of spring. And his results so far at the big league level have been atrocious. I mean, he has like a career 7 or 8 ERA or something like that. He's got to face the Astros in that super warm weather in Los Angeles. And, if he's not on his game, the guys like Altuve and Bregman, Tucker and Alvarez, they're going to punish you, right? You got to be on your game to get those guys out. So I do think paying up for some of the Astros makes sense. But Albies number 1 for me, Altuve second. In a position that I do kind of want to spend at, there are some cheap options. Robinson Cano, I think we might see a resurgent season out of him. I don't know if you saw he had a big day yesterday. Last time we saw Cano was like I think it was the first half of 2020. He got suspended for PEDs, didn't play last year. Maybe he played someone last year. I can't remember exactly what it was.
No, he didn't play last year.
Yeah. Point is, from when we've seen him, he's still hitting. I don't know. I think Robinson Cano might have like a good month or two until he gets popped again for Peds or gets hurt or something. I know he's old, but yeah, I think he's got a little bit of a run in him. So 2,400. I actually like Josiah Gray, but Robinson Cano is my favorite Met on the slate.
Yeah, I think Ketel Marte is my guy. He's going up against the left-hander, and that'll always do it.
Yeah.
The old JSU special. What you got here, Mangone?
Yeah, I mean, another JSU special, Jose Altuve.
I'll
keep it simple. That's definitely a guy that I really like. Marcus Semien, another going at the top that I like a lot. But I think that I really do think that Jose Altuve is going to be the guy that I might go to at the top a little bit. He just seems like such a good play. Also, another nice thing is you get that 9-inning bump too, DC, if you play.
You have to like the Astros stack tonight, man. You have to.
I'm getting pretty talked into the Astros
idea.
So the thing that's nice too is you get the 9 innings, you get the hot weather, right? And dude, the Angels, their bullpen is always awful. Like I don't know if it's gotten improved somehow. That bullpen has not been good for a while. It's been
they have a good closer, but if the Astros stack goes off, he's not seeing the game. So
exactly. So yeah. and if the closer's in there, like you're already dusting at the
bottom. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's the other thing about DFS sometimes. Like sometimes people are just like sitting there and they're like praying in like the 8th inning to get something. It's like, well, your stack already got screwed. Like you don't want to
you can't look at the whole bullpen. You got to look at like, if my stack goes off, who will they face out of the bullpen, right? That's the real question. Because 4 runs isn't going to get it done, right? Like you need a bunch of runs. So it doesn't really matter if a team's got a great setup man and a great closer. If your stack goes off, they'll never see those guys anyway. So, and if they're against those guys, usually in the 8th and 9th inning, you're kind of screwed, because you're just not going to have enough production. So, yeah, the Astros, I think, I wouldn't be shocked if Detmers threw well, but he could just blow up, and then the pitchers after him will not be good. And the hot weather, great lineup. Yeah, the Astros, they're growing on me as well.
Yeah,
cool. Well, yeah, I'm with you on that. And this position's like real quick to mention. It's a good position, I think, spend on. I think shortstop, which we'll get to, is not a bad spot to like either go mid-tier or go down, which like that's good to talk construction wise of like what's most optimal at times. So if you do punt, I like the Cano idea, DC. I think it does make sense at 2-4. He's like the one that's most viable.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the next position. That would be third base. Manny Machado sitting there, 5,200. Austin Riley, 5K. I'm looking at Rendon, 4.5. Chapman, who had fun last night. Or actually, that was not Chapman. That was Olsen. I still get those two guys mixed up. And then Bregman is sitting there at 4,900 tonight against the Angels. You like the Astros. You got to like yourself some Bregman there, DC.
Yeah, he's my number one. Hit a home run yesterday, right? I think.
Yeah, Bregman and Jordan were the two that went.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think they went back to back. Yeah, I mean, Bregman dealt with that significant injury last year. His power was kind of sapped, but was supposedly healthy coming into this year. You hit a long home run in spring training, and you only need to see it once. So you're like, all right, this guy seems like he's healthy and good to go. Gets another lefty. Again, we keep mentioning the weather in LA. It's worth mentioning. It's really the only game on this entire slate that has good hitting weather on it. So, Bregman does look like the top option. I would put Austin Riley second ahead of Manny Machado. But beyond those three, I don't know if you guys see anyone else, but it gets pretty thin after that. So I think I probably want to pay up for one of those top dogs tonight.
Guy Gooby just told me it's 100 degrees out there. He calls the Angels games on TV. He goes, "Don't worry about it though. It'll be mid 80s by game time, so everything will be fine." But you're right. It's the warm place. That's where we can go.
Yeah.
Mangone, I mean, you like the Astros too, right? Bregman, where do you start at third? Who's in the pool?
I agree on the Bregman thing. I think spending up the position makes sense. Rendon at 4-5 is also not a bad side. Yeah. It's like more mid-tierish, but another guy to call out is Diaz. You can put him at shortstop, and like sometimes it's like a really nice contrarian way to build out your lineups. Here's a good example. Like if you were doing a White Sox stack today, right? And you left Jose Abreu off the stack and put in Andrew Vaughn at the first base position, you naturally have like a guy that's like unowned and can easily hit a bomb while the other guy busts. That's something you can do at the third base position. Yes, you can play both. If you want to play Diaz, if he's in the lineup and you want to play Bregman, then put the one at shortstop and put the one at third. Very simple way to do it. But those are small ways to really make yourself contrarian within a stack that people I don't think do all the time. So that's something else to call out there that I think is interesting. So that's someone you can go to. Mike Moustakas I see is cheap, but man, like you don't want him against Morton. I just know that's a cheap price tag on him. It's very weird to see him at 2.9K over on DK. But maybe I'm trying to think, could Maikel Franco at 3-4 be a guy that hits a bomb? Like, we know Scherzer does give up bombs from time to time. We don't really trust the Mets bullpen. Like, it's not a terrible position if you are going down cheap. This is where I don't think I'd put it part of my stack. I'd maybe just try to find like that one-off bomb if you don't play one of these heavy hitters.
Yeah, I agree with you. The guy I'm looking at, I can't even claim to really have known who this guy was prior to today, but Drew Ellis, he's hit 9th for the Diamondbacks, but he's still a minimum. He's 2K, hit 20 home runs in 80 games last year at AAA, which obviously is just you got to have some legit pop to be able to do that. So if you need a punt at third base, I think he would be my favorite, Drew Ellis for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, but I like that because like it's an unknown guy, right?
Yeah.
So is Maikel Franco, unknown guy that you think has power and pop, can be that one-off guy, and if he does hit that bomb, it's not going to murder you because of all the other guys.
I want power from those guys though, right? Where they can get there in one swing of a bat. They don't have to do it over 2 or 3 at bats.
Yep, 1,000%, especially when you're the 9 hitter. You need to have power probably to get you home.
Yep, and it's perfect, man. If the whole they're not doing much as a team, and then you get that lone solo bomb out of the 9-hole randomly, that can really, really jump you up the standings.
And even if they got 4 or 5 runs, right? Like, because like no one has that 5-man stack, and even if they do, the likelihood he can get there. That's the key with it. Like, there's nothing worse than like looking at your team at the start of the slate, and like everyone is like 20% only. You got to have some 2% guys to get you over the finish line. You got to have a bullet or two that just drags you across the line. And sometimes it can be Drew Ellis. That's why in MLB GBPs, you can cash with zeros at times. It has happened. Even in 2022, it will happen nightly.
We are through third base. I'm going to remember shortstop today, DC. It's going to be amazing and glorious. 266 watching, 126 on the likes. Let's try and get to 150 before the end of the show. Want to remind everybody, if you're here and you play baseball and NBA and you're like, where's the NBA show? We have moved the NBA show to strictly premium. Strictly premium. What do you got a shit-eating grin on for there, DC? Is that what's going on over there? There, he stopped smiling too. I don't know what happened. Are you okay?
We got some.
Oh, yes. You know why? Because you really can't see DC. He's kind of frozen. Okay. Hopefully he'll be back sooner than later. So anyways, NBA, we still do our NBA Up to Lock show. We'll be doing it and for the playoffs too. It doesn't just stop after this weekend, but Up to Lock coming up next, premium only for the subscribers. We'll probably be starting in 30 minutes or so. Hey, we got you. God, your internet's horrible. It's amazing. It's just amazing. That's my worry about moving out to the super country there, DC, is the internet. Are you out in the country?
No. Well, I'm just like northern suburbs compared to your southern. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. So anyways, basketball still coming up. Like button and everything else will happen. All your dreams will come true. Mangone, do you want to go first or should I just keep going back to DC first? Let you clean it up.
I'll clean up the shortstop position.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Itself out. Yeah, so let's talk about the position. You could easily go Corey Seager at the top. You have the money for it if you go cheap at pitcher, but I don't know if I'm going to do that today. It just doesn't seem like a position there I want to go there. I might punt here a little bit more. I think Jeremy Pena's in play. Yeah. I think Diaz is in play from the Astros. Those are guys you can look at. If you want to, from your Braves stack, DC, Orlando Arcia at 2.5K. I mean, that seems like a pretty good way to get contrarian with your stack. Arcia definitely is a solid hitter, so that's an option that I think you can go to there. Yeah, I mean, Dansby Swanson in the 8-hole at 4.5, definitely going to be a guy that's under-owned. I think I'd prefer the Arcia route to save that 1.9K. Lindor at 4.8K. I think he's going to be a guy that's like probably the most popular because of the 4.8K. He seems like the best like overall play point per dollar. But I do think it's a good position to punt. I do think it's a good spot to get down a little bit lower at. I think there's a lot of good options amongst good offenses that are low in the order that could gain some lesser ownership. So definitely going to be a spot where I'm looking to punt more so.
DC, thoughts on what Mangone just had to say and your favorite play at shortstop tonight?
A lot of good ones here, both at the high end and the low end. Jeremy Pena, I think, is the top point per dollar play, partly because he's so cheap, frankly, at 2,400. But I do expect a good season out of him. Is he actually
good, DC? Like, is he a good prospect? Like, and these are things I don't know. So can you tell me?
I think he's going to hit. I think he's going to have a very solid season for the Astros, where he hits 20, 25 home runs. I think he's a good hitter. But so is CJ Abrams down there, 2,300. Now I'm on Merrill Kelly some, so I won't have as much CJ Abrams myself, but he was a top prospect, like the number 4 overall pick. He's got 80, like the highest sprint speed in Major League Baseball. So the stolen base threat is there. And potential future star that you're getting for 2,300. So Abrams, Pena, both down there, good options. I agree with you on Arcia. I think he's a good option for 2,500. And then the top end looks okay too. I don't think you'll see many people pay up for the $4,500 for Dansby. He looked awful yesterday. 4 strikeouts and 4 bats. It's not what you want to see opening night, but gets a lefty here. I think he should bounce back. And then Corey Seager against Barrios. I do have a little bit of faith in these Texas Rangers bats against, I think who will be low owned as a group. I like Brad Miller. I like Mitch Garver. And anytime, those are my 2 of my favorite values at those positions. You throw in the lefty, Corey Seager against Barrios in Toronto. That's a nice play. So yeah, definitely some places to go, but Seager and Swanson up top for me. And then at the cheaper price points, Pena and CJ Abrams.
Pena and Abrams. Okay, very good. We're going to get to the outfield position now. We'll get the plays of the day to you before the end of the show, and 16 more likes, and we're right where we need to be, ladies and gents. Outfield, it's outfield time. DC, there's just so many outfielders. So talk to me, 5K and above, DraftKings. Yordong is in there. Kyle Tucker is actually more than Yordong. He's 5,400. Alvarez is 5,200. Then you got 2 good dudes in Toronto, and Springer and Teoscar. And then the top shelf dudes, Ohtani, Soto, Trout, and Starling Marte. Why don't you start with the one big stud at the top and give me the rest of your pool?
Yeah, I'll start off by saying I'm not on the Blue Jays today. I'm on the John Gray side of that matchup. So listen, could absolutely be wrong, and Toronto could go off. Willing to acknowledge that, of course, but that's why I'm not going to mention those guys. They're not going to be in my lineups. Both Angel studs, Ohtani and Trout. I really do like the matchups for them against Odorizzi, especially in that weather. Mangone, you mentioned it. Odorizzi's a pretty good fly ball pitcher, but that's not really what you want to be in 90-degree weather against Trout and Ohtani, right? Like those guys, if they get it in the air, it's got a pretty good chance of sailing over the fence. So Trout and Ohtani, very near, if not near the top of my list, if not at the top of my list. Juan Soto against Scherzer. There's a few of these Washington guys that I'm willing to take. I don't want to take them all, right? I don't want to have Soto and Keeper Ruiz and Josh Bell, but I think one of those guys definitely gets Scherzer for a long ball tonight. So yeah, Soto, he'll be lower owned, and he's kind of the king right now. It doesn't really matter who he's facing. He can do it to anybody, including Max Scherzer, who gives up his fair share of home runs. So I think Juan Soto is a very fun play there. The Atlanta guys back on the Braves, as I mentioned, Adam Duvall, Marcell Ozuna, even Eddie Rosario at 4,600, I think are all good plays. And yeah, that's mostly it. Mostly a spend position for me. Brad Miller, mentioned at first base. You can play him at outfield as well. There's a few guys that are cheaper. One guy I guess I got to look into, Cooper Hummel. Man, like I was doing season-long drafts where we're going like 750 players deep into the pool, and I don't know who Cooper Hummel is. So talk to Mangone, and I'll check back because he's leading off for Arizona. He's 2,400.
That's really unfortunate, DC.
Don't talk to me about telling you who Cooper Hummel is.
No. Talk to him about outfield, and I'll have a Cooper Hummel answer.
I mean, what do you want to know about Cooper Hummel?
Well, it's curious that he's leading off, is it not?
He's batting first in 2.4K.
Yeah. You got to look into him.
Sometimes, like when you punt the guy that's batting first, you can just like get everything you want. Yeah. You're like, okay, that's cool. Like
not a lot of power, not a lot of stolen bases. We'll see what he does.
He looks like a decent hitter.
I'll say the difference between that, like in like a 2v2 and like the NBA, is like one guy can get you like 48 in baseball, and then the other guy gets you 0, and like the other combo could get 10, right? Like it's just the whole point with baseball is like sometimes punting a position just gets you everything you want to get it home. So that's why it is intriguing. And I'm curious what the ownership ends up being, because I could see, like, if I was doing the cash chart today for MLB, I would probably put Cooper Hummel on it as a punt option because he's batting first.
Just cash.
Yeah, I mean, I'm building stuff right now, and I keep seeing, oh, I got 2-6 left, and it's the outfield spot. Maybe Cooper Hummel. Like I keep looking at it. That's why I was hoping DC had something for us, but I know his internet cut out. But let's talk about the outfield and some of the guys that I'm looking to roster tonight at that position. We'll start at the top. I think the Astros, we've talked about them a bunch, but let's kind of continue to talk about them.
Hold on, did he drop off again?
I mean, it's
for
black
the
right
love
now,
of God.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
Tone Dog, will you please buy him some internet here? Just expense it or something. That's ridiculous. Get him a T1 line, old school. All right, you were saying, man, go.
Yeah, tough scene for DC,
Tough
but
scene, very.
Ohtani and Trout in that game, both good options like DC talked about. I prefer the other two. I prefer Jordan and Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, he crushes lefties. I think sometimes people don't want to play Jordan too, but he does well against lefties as well. I really do like the spot for those two guys. People sometimes shy away from them. I'm sure the secret's kind of out, but I'll still definitely be on them, especially early in the season here. One of those Braves that was talked about, Marcelo Ozuna, 4K, really, really good option today. I'm sure he has some ownership, but 4K is just really too cheap against Sam Martin here, batting in that cleanup spot. So definitely another good option that you can go to. If you are finishing out that Angel stack, it's Joe Adell's birthday. So maybe there's a birthday narrative there for Mr. Joe Adell. Not sure, but yeah, I doubt I'm going to actually go there. If you are looking for that one-off home run against Max Scherzer, could it be Juan Soto? Could it be Nelson Cruz? Easily could be. Definitely an option that you can go to. I know we talked about a low-owned Texas Rangers stack. I talked about Adolis Garcia. He was a beast last year. Like, this Rangers lineup was amazing. And now he's batting sixth in this lineup. He could definitely hit a couple home runs at virtually no ownership at 5.1K. So I know I talked about a lot of expensive guys, but there are some good ones there. Some of the cheaper ones, again, another Astro, Chas McCormick at 3.4K. An Angel, Brandon Marsh, if he happens to be in the lineup. It just depends who's going to be out there for the outfielders there. Those are definitely some options you can go to. And if you want to just spend up for two guys, then just throw in a Cooper Hummel at that 2.4K. Like, it's definitely an option to help make a lot of things work with your position. So definitely a good position to spend at. That's why we talked about a couple spots that were like not bad to spend down at, like spending down at catcher instead of going to a Mitch Garver and then maybe spending down at shortstop. That might be more of the optimal route to be able to get in some of these outfielders in the first baseman and some of the second baseman that we talked about before.
So we got 9 more likes to get to for the plays of the day. It's great to see Mr. DC come back here. It's great to see you, DC. Let me ask you, because my guy today is Tyler Naquin. It's just because of the matchup. I just love rolling. I love Tyler Naquin. He's my favorite. It doesn't matter. He's facing a right-hander. He's going to be in Atlanta. That'll be my guy. But it looks as though the team you're going to target the most, or the team you're going to roster the most, is what? The Astros? Is that what you're thinking right now?
Astros and the Braves. Yep.
Astros and the Braves.
And then I do think there's good strategic one-offs, like we mentioned, at kind of each position to fill out lineups. But yeah, those are the two main stacks I'm looking at.
Okay, very good. What stacks were you looking at, Mangone?
Yeah, I'm definitely pretty keyed in on the Astros one. I like the Texas calls we talked on the show. I'm still definitely not going to completely ignore, though, this Blue Jay stack, because it's just, when you plug in all those guys, you plug in Bichette and Vlad, it just starts to make everything difficult, where I think people bail on it or they do a 3-man stack. So I do think the 5-man stack of Toronto fully will go under-owned. Maybe there's more 2-mans and 3-mans, but the full 5-man is definitely not the easiest to pull off. So, but my number 1 stack is going to be the Astros. We'll go with number 2, Texas, and number 3, Toronto for me on this slate. And Angels is probably like right behind it. That's kind of the main ones I'm looking to get to, as I'm making the Astros my main, and then I'm trying to figure out how to do like a 2-man or a 3-man within that. I don't know what fits best. That's what I'm trying to work through right now.
Okay. Well, let's do this right there at 150. So I'm not going to be a dick and say we're not going to get the plays of the day. DC, Mom's Basement play of the day.
Can we establish some ground rules here? I feel like baseball is like 2 different sports where you should be able to pick a pitcher and a hitter for your play of the day. Can we establish that early on?
Do whatever you want to do. I don't give a shit.
You can do whatever you want, DC.
What do you think?
I think I'm only going to pick a hitter today, but you can if you'd like to.
All right. Thank you. I will go with the Mom's Basement pitcher of the day, Mr. John Gray, 5,400, cheapest starting pitcher on the board. I think he's gonna show the Blue Jays what's up to start this slate. So I'll go with John Gray. Hope his ownership keeps in check. And for the Mom's Basement hitter of the day, I got to go back to my guy Ozzie Albies. I've been screaming this guy's name for It sounds a little aggressive, but I like this guy a lot. Against lefties, have for the last couple of years. He comes through for me often, and not afraid of he whose name we established during the show, Raver San Martin.
Raver San Martin. All right, Mangone. I don't remember what your play of the day is called. I don't remember anybody. So
you don't remember a lot, Holden, but it's the Sweet Travis.
You're right about that, pal.
It's the Sweet Travis play of the day.
Sweet Travis play of the day.
Let's go. I am going to give a pitcher now, DC, because I thought you were stealing the one, but I kind of stole it from you. I think you kind of helped me out. I feel like it's like the D Wade, LeBron alley-oop, or you're coaching me up on baseball to get me going. I like the Merrill Kelly call a lot.
Yeah.
Dodgers are going to have ownership. I don't see like John Gray, Merrill Kelly, like all these pitchers. I don't see like a clear-cut difference between them all where like one is just head and shoulders above. So why not gain some leverage with it while also using DC's like, sharp info where he's been studying. I mean, this man just said that he's been doing drafts up to 700 players. I'll tell you one thing. I have not been doing that. So I like to lean on you in these spots and kind of give my DFS takes instead as I kind of learn the sport and as I'm still also doing basketball and math. There's just so much going on. So I need to lean on you. And I'm going to lean on the Merrill Kelly take. I like it a lot. I think it gains a lot of leverage on the field as well. Helps with the construction I want to do too, where I don't want to have like two mid-tier pitchers. I want a Morton, and then I want to have another guy down in that low range. I'm going to bet on Merrill Kelly in the leverage. And then my hitter, that's going to be my play of the day. It's going to be Kyle Tucker. Lefty. People hate going to that. So many good spend up bats today. There's so many. It's endless. Tucker's also probably not going to be in the 4 hole, right? It'll be more in like the 5 or 6 spot. So I think Kyle Tucker is a really good play. And those are going to be the two guys you will for sure be seeing in my lineups tonight.
I just love it. I love the passion. Love the passion there. Yeah, Tyler Naquin's my guy. Give me the splits. Let him go.
Tyler Naquin.
He loves Naquin. Holden has been pounding Naquin home. He's gotten it right a lot. Remember last
year? For years. Okay. And the last thing, there was something going on in the premium chat here. D. Gordon Strange. Did he really take his wife's name and put it on the end? I mean, is that how he got the last one? I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but it seems very millennial to me. Do you think that's what happened, DC?
I mean, I have also, I do admit to having wondered that a time or two in my days on this earth. And it does seem like the most likely thing. I haven't cared enough to actually look up and, I'm sure you could find out in like 5 minutes, but yeah, I bet that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get it. And, but okay, whatever.
Well, hey, neither of us are married. So what are we talking about? We don't know.
None of us are married.
Actually, none of us. Yeah.
None of us are any.
Maybe if we were more willing to take our significant others' names.
There's very few things that I want to hold on to, but my name would be a nice thing, just pass that on.
After making my like username on the internet, Mangone, like I don't think I could get rid of it. Right. Like, even if I like was willing, I'm not really, but like, I mean, I'm known as Mangone. Like, that'd be weird if like randomly my name was Thompson out of nowhere. That would just
what if Bagel Girl said, yes, Mangone, I would like a mustache ride. Then she said, I would like to get married and I do want to put my last name on yours. Would you do that for Bagel Girl?
I would tell her no, Holden.
I think you're all talk.
It's just, it would be weird. And it's just.
It was to honor his mom. Well, that's kind of awesome then.
Oh, that is.
If you're honoring your mom, great. If you're taking your wife's name, bad.
We're the assholes. You shouldn't have brought that up. We should have done our research.
No, absolutely bring it up. Why not look like
an asshole? You blame it on the host. This is where you throw it on the host.
It's totally my fault. Yeah, I put my mom's name on there. Why not? Who cares? But your wife, you can't do that. Okay, great stuff. Like button on the way out. Thanks for checking us out. We'll have programming all weekend long. Again, NBA Up to Lock show for the premium members is coming up next. JSU AP going to join me. It'll be wonderful. The NBA has been very profitable here down the stretch. So we only got 3 days left, Mangone? Is that it? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, not too much left. So yeah, it should be fun. But I love the playoffs. Like, I mean, listen, I don't watch every single regular season game. I keep track pretty closely to them, but like I watch every single like playoff game. Like they're all on. Like I know what's going on in every single one. So I cannot wait. Super excited for that. Excited that baseball's back. Masters is awesome as well. So can't wait.
Good one, Bart. Travis Bagel /girl. Mangone /Bagel Girl. I like it. DC, good to see you. Mangone, wonderful to see you. I'm Holden. Helmet, get us out of here, Helmet.